All right, what's up, guys? Thanks you for coming back to the podcast. I'm here with Dustin Miles, FD Pro 2 driver, and Reese Marin, as always. So, here, I'm excited that we get to talk a little bit about uh, with Dustin here, just because you're kind of that in between guy between style and competitive drifting, and a lot of people think those are two different avenues that don't mix well. The big question is, how do you do it?
Rays. He uses Ray wheels. That's what he uses. That's how he does it. That's the sauce.
That's the sauce. That's the secret sauce right there. I mean, it's always been about, like I've always loved cars and kind of loved to, make them my own. And that's kind of what it's all about. I just kind of do what I like, and it ends up being what some other people like as well. And it just worked out that way, really. I don't know. Like, it wasn't like my MO, but I just kind of like set my car up away and just started driving it, learned how to drive it like that, and tried to drive it as hard as I could, and it just worked out that way. And I honestly just got to the point where I was like, well, I don't really want to change everything I got going that works for me. If it works, it works, and if it don't, then I'm still having fun doing it, so it don't matter,
Mm-hmm.
And I just enjoy the competitive side of everything, and so I wanted to try and do FD stuff. And the more people that told me that it wouldn't work, I'm like one of those kind of guys. Like, I want to be the devil's advocate. You tell me I'm not going to be able to do something, that just gives me more motivation to try it, kind of thing. Like. That's kind of what is behind it as well.
You were definitely motivated. I remember when we got to hang out at FD that first time, and we were just on the sideline watching at that point. And I think you were spotting for someone. Actually, you weren't you? You were helping somebody out.
Oh, and, yeah.
And I could, we definitely kind of vibe very well with them, and it was just really kind of refreshing to see that you were one of those people that were coming from a very, in my eyes, a very well-respected styling that came out of like the South area with Top Garage and Garage Moon as well. You know what I mean? And I think having Sebastian and all those friends of yours definitely influenced a lot of your styling. And I think you did, in my opinion, I think you did a really good job of like, I know what I need for the pros, but I don't want it to take away from who I am as an individual when it comes to my styling. So you did in my opinion, I think you did a really good job of doing a 50-50 split and having friends that were supportive like Sebastian and everybody else in that area. I'm sure kind of helped guide you in that way. But it was good to have your attitude was really good, especially when I met you at that FD event. And it was just cool to see that, well, look what you're doing now. You know what I mean? So it's like from then till now is a lot.
Yeah, I guess I really didn't give credit where credit was due at that when I answered that question. I'm glad you brought that up. It was a real luck. I got lucked out and met a really good group of friends in this area that not only, helped me in ways of giving me inspiration and stuff like that, but also kind of showed me the road and showed me the proper way to learn how to drive and the proper steps to take when learning how to drive and how to set up a 240 and what things look good and what don't look good, and a lot of trial and error too on myself. I didn't necessarily like copy, I feel like, anyone's like particular style. I kind of tried to make it my own, but they definitely gave me the influence that I need to come out and shine, I guess. Yeah. Sebastian, Phil, our friend Miles, all these people, they all kind of had their own little things. I had my own little thing because I had an still have an IS 300, and I kind of always, it was kind of similarly built, whatever. Can't say that word right now. And yeah, so I just kind of like put it in my 240 that way too. So
nice. So
and the influence for Final Bout and stuff like that, that kind of was a big way of me having to, or wanting to style my car a certain particular way. Because when me and Phil and Sebastian kind of got together to start Garage Moon Power, that was our really only goal, was to be able to make it as a team and be accepted to Final Bout and get to go up to US Air and do Special Stage Central, and then hopefully be able to make it about 3. That was like the main goal as a team. Now, my main goal was always like when I got started in it, the first event I went to was an FD event in 2013 at Road Atlanta, and I knew I wanted to do competitive drifting right then, but none of my friends would let me basically build a Pro-Am car right then and learn how to do that. So they forced me to learn in a stock bone car, and they made me learn how to drive. And then they were like, all right, now you can have angle. Now you can have a swap. Now you can do this. And then after I got all that done and I started driving a little bit, they were like, all right, now you need to you just need to get seat time. So they wouldn't let me. I wasn't really able to even do Pro-Am right out the bat. Like I drove for like maybe a year and a half, 2 years, just doing fun events, doing Turismo. When got my feet wet at like one round of Pro-Am, and then the next year I was like, all right, I'm going full force and doing the Pro-Am thing. And I did 2 series that year where I did a little bit of U.S. drift and I did a little bit of Southeast drift even. And that was the year I first met Reese when we were up at U.S. Drift at Shenandoah. That was the first time I think we met.
Cool.
And that was where you met as well. All 3 of us met there at that same event. That's where I met. That's how I met Nate, and that's how I met Reese. That's so funny. I just kind of put that together.
That's awesome. Yeah,
it's great. It's hard to keep up because once you get into this industry, and you get really deep in with the community, you could start forgetting where you meet people, and because it's like we're everywhere. Like Nate, I see Nate places I didn't even expect to see him.
Yeah, and we're all so like-minded. It's like we've all known each other for so long. The first time we meet each other, kind of thing. We're all like such into the same stuff that it's like, all right, this dude feels like he's like an old-time friend. I just met him today, kind of thing. You know, it's like that pretty much. You know.
Yeah, I mean it's been crazy just what's happened in those last couple of years, even just with your career and what you've been able to do and all this crazy stuff. And then obviously working with you, I've enjoyed it immensely, and it's been super fun, and we've had a lot of success. So I guess that kind of brings me to what is Dustin Miles doing now? You know, like what do you have any big plans? Are you still like up in the air with stuff? And
I mean, I'm a little bit up in the air with stuff, but still kind of trying to stick with my same thing. Is just really just getting a lot of seat time and driving. You know, like that's what I enjoy. It's what I love to do, and that's what I want to try and do. So that's what I'm trying to stick with. I'm definitely doing Final Bout again this year. They're having Final Bout 4 this year, so we get to not only do one of the special stages, but we also get to go and defend the championship that we have with Final Bout this year at Final Bout 4, and probably going to try and do some grid lives. Probably, going to try and drive local events. Going to have a good time, kind of thing. I just want to get to drive with all my friends.
That would be cool.
And I definitely try and stick with FD. Like I really haven't felt like I've had a full pool. Like every time, like I'm learning. I'm building my car. I'm trying to set my car up. I'm still fairly new to everything. Like, I've been in it about 6 or 7 years now, and I'm still learning how to do everything, So it's like every event I learn something that I'm trying to apply into the next event, and it just so happened that I learned all that and got it all into the car for the last event of last year, which was Texas, but I didn't get any seat time beforehand to fill the car out. So now I got certain things that I'm happy with, and I feel like I'm on like a level playing field now. Because I would never say that I was hindered by like my ride height or anything like that, which was what everyone kind of tried to always tell me, like, oh, you got to lift your car so you can get more squat or this, that, and the third. And it was really just more so like the hurdle I had to face was the lag that my little 2.5 liter had over like a big V8 car. And it was just that line. If I didn't launch the car 100% right, I was gapped, and you don't make up that room anywhere else on the track when you're driving with a guy that's equally as good as you are without cutting a line or doing something like that. And I know Reese would yell at me through the dang, whatever, if I was cutting a line and driving all shitty. So I had, you just got to play that up. And now I got nitrous. So I'm able to launch the car, get into boost, get out of boost, whatever, and get back in. I can keep up with people now, and I'm excited to get some more competition driving in this year for sure.
It's by far my favorite car in FD right now. Just if I could have one car, I think it'd be that car for sure. I just like the way it looks. It's my thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, this is coming from somebody that had a Pro-Am car with a V8 in it, but I only did that because I didn't have the money to do any of that wild Jay-Z stuff back in the day. But I did it strictly from a financial point. But like when I got to see everybody doing the 1Js and now the SRs are coming back, I'm just like, man, what a time to be alive to see what was once looked at as something you shouldn't be doing, and now it's just crazy to see how everything evolves and what the trends are and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Dustin, what now that you've been doing this for 6 years and now you've gone through the grassroots, and you're a unique case. You're somebody who went through the grassroots. You've done some of the Pro-Am stuff. You've done some of the comp stuff. Now you've done the pro stuff. With all the experience that you have, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that think like, damn, this dude has his shit together. See if you can like maybe tell us like, what's one thing you're like, man, I really wish I could improve this about my program. Not necessarily about your driving. Like, let's say, because, you know, it's not just the driving when you become a professional driver. It's the whole business and that encompasses. What's one thing you think like, man, like, this is something I want to work on because it's one less thing I got to worry about when I'm doing my job in, you know, driving that car?
Honestly, it comes back to me, and the thing I need to work on is like delegating things a little bit better. Like I always feel like I don't want to tell someone what to do, but I'll need things done, and we'll only have a certain amount of time. And these are things that I'm really working on myself because I don't want to come off like I'm bossing someone around. Because almost everyone that comes with me and helps me out, they're pretty much doing it out of the goodness of their heart. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to be involved, they want to be there. You know what I mean? I do like try and take care of whatever I can take care of financially for them, whether it be like travel or food or paying them a little bit of money. But ain't nobody making money and getting supporting their living off of helping me. And so I feel bad sometimes, like saying, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do that?" But if I could work on my organization where it's having a list of everything that needs to happen when you get to an event. So when you're setting up, someone's like, well, hey, what can I do? What can I do? And I'm running around frantic trying to like get this set up, get this out of the trailer. We need this in the bed of the truck. Like I just need to have like a checklist basically. Like, okay, is this done? Is this done? Is this done? Kind of thing like that. Like that's basically like the biggest thing that I need to work on is really just like learning how to run a team. You know, like I've been learning how to build a car, and I'm still learning how to do that. And I'm not the best at it in any stretch of any form. I'm not even good at it really. I just try. You know, it's just like a fail until you make it kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So basically just that kind of stuff. Like I really enjoy the competitive stuff, and I love driving fun events too. So I can't really pick one that I enjoy more than the other. Obviously, you have more fun at a fun event because you don't have the stress. I got to do this or this weekend kind of sucks for me. You know what I mean? Like you go to a fun event, your car breaks, you're like, oh well, you know, I made the attempt. I'm still going to party with my friends kind of thing. But when you spend all the money and you get out to FD and your car breaks, it's like a whole bunch bigger, you know, ordeal. You feel a lot more weight on your shoulders out there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Especially at like Road Atlanta, where I've had horrible luck the last 2 years, and you're right in front of your hometown, and you're like, I want to do good, and you don't.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because an FD is not forgiving whatsoever. You get very little seat time in Pro 2, and then when the weather's always unpredictable, and you know, the fun thing about drifting is rain doesn't stop a show. You know, it's just in NASCAR. You know, you guys drive through the elements, and so I mean that was this year's Atlanta was just crazy because of it. Unfortunately, you got the short end of the stick on that one, but I mean, and that's the thing is like I see if I was in drifting, I would super enjoy the competitive stuff because I'm a competitive person. But like you said, there's just the highs are super high and then the lows are super low. And then obviously fun, you just enjoy it. So, I mean, I get totally what you're trying to say and stuff like that. So what I guess influences where do you think your influences came from? Like obviously from your friends, but like where did what did you like used to watch old Japanese videos back in the day or like so were you primarily American influenced?
Primarily American influenced. I kind of got introduced to all the Japanese stuff like as I started drifting. Like the first person that I ever watched drift was actually like AJ from Risky Devils. Like I had an IS 300. I liked IS 300s. So I was like looking up videos when I was in high school of drifting IS 300s and stuff like that, or just people driving IS 300s. And that was the one person that I saw driving at US Air and doing all this stuff. And then, but that still wasn't like, I looked at drifting as something that was unobtainable. It was like NASCAR, where you had to do it from an early age to get involved with it. Like the only thing I knew was that, and then like FD kind of stuff. And I would see that from time to time. But I just looked at it and I was like, oh, that's something I'll never be able to get involved with. When I started drifting, I didn't even know what righty tighty lefty loosey was to actually work on a car. I had no idea about anything. I didn't change my own oil. I didn't do anything, and then all of a sudden I go to this drift event at Road Atlanta and I'm still thinking the same thing. And then I meet some guys and they're like, oh no, we're going to a local drift event next weekend. You should come out and check it out. And then they're like, oh yeah, all you got to do is buy a $2,000 S13 and you could be out here, 80, 30, spend $60 and buy a couple pairs of used tires and you can have a good time, And I did that and I was like, oh wow, I'm hooked, I went out there to the first little event and I was like, this is for me, and went full head on, and then from there.
And that's something interesting about drifting that I've noticed is you don't need to be like doing it since you were basically born to be good at it. There's a lot of people that get into it later in life and are actually really good.
Yeah.
And it's really it's interesting because the sport is still young enough to where you can do that. And I think that's kind of really cool because you still get a ton of the grassroots, I guess, people coming up and doing competitive drifting still. And you're not getting like the people that were bred from once they were born to be racing certain things. So so it's really cool, and I see a lot of people that aren't like millionaires that are doing this too. Like it would take to be doing other types of motorsport. So
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting misconception for drifting where people are like, oh, it's got to cost a lot because you go through a bunch of tires and stuff. But in reality, I would think it have to be one of the cheaper motorsports to get into, especially competitively.
Oh yeah, I think it's like probably autocross, and then it would be drifting, because autocross is about the same, where you can go buy a Miata and drive, but drifting's, in my opinion, a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like at the entry level of drifting, it's super affordable. But from that point, it grows really, really fast. And then all of a sudden you're in the competitive side, and it's expensive.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not expensive. I'm just saying in retrospect compared to like any other form of racing.
Oh yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it's like, I may be wrong in this, but like, I think it's one of those motorsports where not having access to a lot of money in the beginning can actually help you in the long run, because you then focus on what you have instead of just feverishly trying to dump money into a car thinking you can buy your way to success with this. But so basically what I'm saying, if you're poor and you're forced to just drive the car and slowly add things to it, it actually helps you in the long run because it disciplines you with patience. Whereas I'm sure the longer you guys are in this sport, I'm sure, Miles, you can agree, you can kind of tell somebody who had money in the beginning and threw things together and the way they drive compared to somebody who may have not had a lot of money and over the course of 10 years has developed a form of driving that was kind of earned and kind of crawled and then walked and then ran. other than somebody who just kind of skipped the gate and gone. Not saying they both can't drift, but there's definitely a style difference. When you start comparing runs, you can start seeing that. So I think it's really up to the driver on what they ultimately want to look like driving wise. And I think money definitely plays a role, and patience plays a role in that.
Yeah, I think the biggest telltale sign of that is when you see someone hop from like a super high horsepower car back to a non-high horsepower car, and you see them struggle a little bit, you know?
Right.
I mean, but I think if you're learning drifting, like no matter how much money you have or how much ability you think you have in the beginning, it's important to start at the first level and not skip too many levels. You know, like you could skip a little bit here and there, but it's better to just take it every step of the way and learn every step of the way, and never let your car progress further than your driving skill.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of seat time in your race car, or do you plan on getting some seat time in the FD car before you decide to go to Long Beach or any of that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I probably drive my my competition car probably more than most people. Not the most, but I do drive it a good bit. Like, I'm gonna take this year and use my coupe a little bit more for local events and fun events and stuff like that, but bigger events where I can get on a track that's, you know, a little bit more equal to an FD style track, I want to use my hatch and, you know, get it ready for anything that might happen, you know. That's where you kind of work out all your bugs, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I've kind of had as much success mechanically with the car as I've had at FD. Like, I haven't always went out there with the best perfect setup, but I've at least been able to usually finish every event and get some seat time at them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's important to drive that level of a car a good bit. And I think also this year, having them a lot more similar with having the same angle kits up front, it'll be a little bit more beneficial for me to drive the coupe and then hop back in the hatch and see what happens, you know?
Yeah.
Well, right now I don't have any events planned with the hatch. It's still under the knife right now. I'm doing a little refresh and stuff. The motor's a little bit tired right now, so I'm going to refresh that. Got to make the changes to update it to the 2020 rule book, and then be ready to go out to OSW maybe and get some test laps in, you know? That's kind of what I did last year. Was I went down there and I went to a local Orlando track or, you know, event, OSW Drift Day, and got some good laps in the car, wrecked it, and went back and got to drive it after I wrecked it there and built some confidence up. And then that really helped me do well, I think, in Orlando where I did. I think if I wouldn't have had the problem that I had with the steering rack going out in my last practice lap, I could have done a lot better in Orlando than I did last year. But, you know, that's kind of one of the things that just happens. No matter how prepared you are, still things can show themselves, you know, at the worst time.
Right.
That's true. So what's been your favorite track that you've drifted at?
Like total or for
Yeah,
FD?
total.
I don't know. That's really hard. I was kind of thinking about that. I mean, it might be VIR. It might be Road Atlanta. It might be something, you know, really easy and not so wild like Killcare. You know, like Killcare's a lot of fun. And I have probably that's the best event that I ever had. Really was going up to the Pro-Am shootout thing, or not shootout, the Pro-Am at Killcare when I earned my license.
Yeah.
That was probably like the most fun I've ever had at an event, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. What about your car, I guess, makes it about, you know, more of the style? I mean, obviously it looks a lot lower than most FD cars and stuff. Is there something special you do to make it look low, or is it really just that low?
No, it's kit low for sure.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie and say, oh, I'm dragging frame rails everywhere I go. No, it's definitely kit low. But I mean, it is a little bit lower than all the other cars. But I still have all the suspension travel that I need. I don't feel like I'm hurting myself at all by ride height or the way it's, set up. I mean, really, I think it might just boil down to, I don't want to say I'm working harder than everyone, but I'm like, I put a lot of effort into my car. I'm fortunate enough that I can focus a lot of time and a lot of my efforts on my car. So I do a lot of it myself, which saves me a lot of money, like with the livery installs and all that kind of stuff. And does it come out great? Does it come out perfect? No, definitely not. But it's the effort and the time, and it's fun. It's not fun in the moment, but then when you look back at it, you're like, oh, that was fun. It was fun actually staying up till 3 a.m. before my first FD event, putting stickers on my car so it looked a certain way. Like a lot of guys might have just said, what, screw it, I'm not going to do that. But I was like, what, let's just do it and let's get it knocked out and let's have a good time. And it's kind of like been my my little staple for my driving and my myself is like I just kind of try and take pride in my work, and I want to show people that
Mm-hmm. I think it's really cool. I think it's cool that you do a lot of it yourself though, and it sounds like you've learned a lot from not knowing how to turn a wrench to now practically building a car and laying wraps down and putting on like all of your stuff. You've found out different solutions, like you use the quick latch thing, which I think is really unique to you, to keep on like your bumpers and stuff, and you do a couple little different things that I haven't seen other drivers do. So I think that's really cool.
And I am a little bit stubborn, and I know like the more that I do it and I see people, like the more that I spend all this time doing all this stuff with like body work, and then having to beg Sebastian to take time away from his builds to come over here and paint my stuff, and us getting in trouble at different people's houses because we just pollute the neighborhood with tons of flake and clear. But I'd love to just like wrap my car sometimes. I look at it and I'm like, man, if I could just lay a sticker over this whole thing and not have to worry about painting it, it would save me so much time. But paint just looks the best. I just like the way the paint comes out, and it just looks real good with the paint and the livery and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a big part of what's helped me as far as like the style side of it. I think it's one of the things that like differentiates me from everyone else is that I take that extra step and I paint my car. And yeah, I go out to the first track day usually, and I ruin it. I scrape it on a wall, or I scratch it up, or I break a fender, or I do something. But at the end of the day, those are just
they're battle scars.
Battle scars. It's just character. It's a story. It doesn't really take away from the whole. That's the good thing about drifting is it doesn't take away from the whole presentation of the car because it's expected. You know what I'm saying? Like it, I treat it as a show car, but I don't treat it as a show car at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
You treat it as a show car when you need to, and then you treat it as a race car and whatever happens when you use it as a race car, it's falls below the wayside.
Yeah, can't do anything about that. I would rather enjoy driving it because that's my favorite part about it. Like building it and doing all that stuff is fun and I enjoy it, but I have my most fun behind the steering wheel, and so I don't want to let one thing stop my fun away from this, the fun I have behind the steering wheel. As much as I would love to have a car like on Drift Week, man, like these guys were hitting every jumping their cars over rumble strips and not caring. And Luke Fink, man, he is just an absolute crazy man behind the wheel. I don't want to say psycho, but he pretty much is crazy. Like I felt like I was being, a bitch because I didn't want to dirt drop as much. Like I was being careful when I was driving to stay on tracks. Like I didn't want to, break a side skirt and not have any place to put it and have to just leave it behind, because I'll fix, we'll fix that shit. We'll get it fixed, That stuff's not cheap. And this man had his whole family in the car, and he would straight jump the inside part of the track and just get on your door. Like so many times, I was got out of the car, back in the pits, and walked around my car, all right, where's the tire mark? and it just wouldn't be there. But he would literally be inches from my door.
Mm-hmm.
And he was driving with his family the whole way across the country, you know? And there was a time when he was like, my car's broke, I need something out of the trailer, and I'm just stranded. And he actually got stranded at the house all day one day because he had broke his car at the day before. And I was like, man, I feel like a bitch. You know, this man's just got his kids in the car with him, and he's driving the hell out of it at the track day, you know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, he ended up getting it fixed.
Who's like some of your favorite people to like drive with, or you've driven with, or like what's a cool experience, and like it can be competitive or non-competitive?
I mean, definitely the most fun I've had driving has definitely been with Sebastian, probably, and Phil. You know, like the best moments of tandem stuff was definitely Final Bout 3, you know, us going out there. And the crazy thing about that is that was literally probably the first time all three of us ever drove together. Like, we had all, like, I had driven with Phil at an event. Phil had driven with Sebastian at an event. I had driven with Sebastian at an event. Phil and Sebastian had driven together at an event. But we never all three collectively at once got to drive together before that day. And we had all had driven a lot together on sims, but we had never actually like had our real cars out ready to go and drove together. And we still really haven't. When we like, the thing about like Top Garage, every time they go to an event, no matter where they are, they all only drive with each other. Like, that's all they do the whole event. You can hop in line here or there with them, but you're going to be in their group with them, driving with them. They're not, like, going to come and get into your group and drive with you kind of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And all of us at every event, we're like scatterbrained chickens running around with our heads cut off, like, "Ooh, I want to drive with him. Oh, you're ready to go? All right, let's go." And then this dude's changing his tires. Phil's broke his car. He got his car broke. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
And it just worked out that day, and that was fun. I mean, and then when you get, it's basically really when you get any good tandems in, that's the moment that was just better than the last moment kind of thing. You know what I mean? Whenever you get stacked up with anyone, it's just like, yo, that was rad. That was a lot of fun. Let's do it again kind of thing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, US Air is just perfect for that track, too.
Yeah.
So
US Air for all that stuff.
Yeah. So so your next event is Final Bout Texas, correct?
Special Stage South, yep, at Speed Motorsports Place, which is going to be interesting because the only thing I've heard about that track so far is that you go off track, you dirt drop, you're done for the day.
What track is this?
Speed Sports South or something like that in Texas. It's a full like luxury karting facility that this is going to be the first year that they really open it up for drift events. I think Lone Star Drift said they're running 3 different events there that'll be fun events, but invite only. And then Final Bout, which is coming, that they were very selective on who they let drive that track supposedly as well because of that reason. Like they said, you dirt drop one time, you're done for the day. And it's only a 1-day event. And most people are coming from far away. You know what I mean? Like, I'm coming from Georgia. There's another team coming from Georgia. I know Heat Lightning. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens, you know?
Is it like a competition to get into the final race? Or is it...
So all the special stages this year, like how it's been in the past, you basically have to come to a special stage, show what you can do, and then from there, that's like qualifying for Final Bout 4. So I don't necessarily know if there's going to be even a competition at any of the special stages because it's only 1-day things and competitions take time and yada, yada, yada. Everyone just enjoys driving more. So I think it'll be like come out, put on a good show, drive together well, have presentable, you know, cars, and that can be your ticket into Final Bout 4 kind of thing.
So it's like kind of like have a jam session, show your stuff, and you might get that phone call.
Yeah.
It's pretty rad.
That's how it's kind of been in the past. And it could be different. It could be different. I could be wrong, but I mean that's kind of generally how it's been.
Mm-hmm. Well, that'd be really cool.
When we went to the first special stage, we had a competition, but we had all broke our cars, so it was just me by myself. And we still were able to come to Final Bout 3 just basically because, they kind of saw the presentation of the cars and how we were all driving before and after, and they understand. They're cool people.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
That's sweet. Yeah, and you ended up winning it, so.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
That was a good
That was a good day. So that's really cool. Do you know how is it going to be a pretty big event or do you even know how many cars they let in?
I don't really know. I mean, I haven't really heard who's driving it outside of just local people that I know personally that have mentioned that they're driving it, which is really cool for us because Atlanta has like a really big team thing going on here. We got Heat Lightning, we got Top Garage, we got Garage Moon Power, we got Team Rowdy here. There's a lot of teams in this area, but we've been pretty much the only team that's kind of went anywhere and drove as a team anywhere else. Top Garage is starting to do that. I don't know if Top Garage is planning on going to any of the special stages at all, but I do know like the other team, Heat Lightning, is, and yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be cool to see them there and driving and get to drive with them over there.
So team drifting is one of these. I guess I don't. To me, it's one of the newer concepts, but it's a very interesting idea and how team drifting works. And I think so. If I'm correct, it requires at least 3 cars, and basically you're judged on how good it looks on the run. So when they do like judging and stuff, is that correct?
Yeah, it's just about basically line and mainly proximity and like making sure everyone sticks together. So if you got like, obviously if you have like a 5-car team, you get bonus points because if you can make all 5 cars do the exact same thing all at once, you're going to be like, you're going to win kind of thing. But it's a gamble because it's a lot harder to get 5 cars to all do the same thing at once than it is 3, 3 is a lot easier number, a lot safer number. But yeah, it's basically just get stacked up with your boys and have a good time, and you'll do really well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a synchronization type of thing. I mean, if you watch a lot of the, I don't know, Nate, if you're familiar with the MSC Challenge competitions that they used to have in Japan.
Yeah, no.
The MSC challenges that's where I originally saw the team drifting and the double tag team drifting, where it was like just 2 drivers or 3 drivers. And Miles, this is right. The more drivers you have, the more bonus points you have. Which that whole world of drifting, which it definitely has a place in drifting. Definitely calls for a different style, a different approach, and dare I say, a different tactic when it comes to driving together. That's why you see a lot of teams, for simplicity reasons, they'll try to get cars that are generally set up the same, so then this way they can have an easier time of being able to stay synchronized together and stuff like that. So you'll see a lot of the same cars. I personally feel I don't know if there's bonus points for this, but the more diversity in teams, I think that's pretty cool. Like if I see a BMW, a 240, and then like a Mustang on a drift team, I'm going to be like, damn, like whatever they did to set up their cars so they both run the way they're running together, that's pretty impressive. I mean, it's definitely a different form of drifting from what he does in FD, and I definitely think, people should maybe kind of see that there's definitely 2 avenues of that, but just as fun either or.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that you made there, because I never really thought about that, but yeah, that'd be sick. And I think that's also one of the reasons why we had as much success as we had, because we all went out there and every single car basically made within like 50 or 70 horsepower of each other. We're all on the same tires. We all have similar setups. Like we all had 2 different cars because me and Phil both had S13s and Sebastian had an R32, but we all had a similar setup. I think we were all pretty much on the same angle kit. And the other cool thing about us is we all have we had a SR, we had a RB, and we had a 1J. So we had some sick sounds coming out of it. And I think that's a cool little another aspect to keep in mind too, is the whole presentation of the of your drift. It's gonna take all the senses and the sight, the sound, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Have an LS in there, you're gonna pretty much hear the LS over everything else, or I guess in my case, if I have my 1J, you're going to hear that because everyone says it's loud.
It's a very cool sounding car, though. I still have yet to see another 1J sound like it, though. It's really raspy.
Yeah, it's definitely unique.
It's a cool car. How long have you had that coupe for?
I've had that coupe for about 5 years now. I had the hatch first. The hatch was my first car that I ever got. Or actually, I bought an S14, and then I traded the S14 for the hatch right away because I wanted to be able to drive it on the road, and I didn't want to have to worry about emissions. So I got the 1990, so I was like, all right, sick. I can just register this thing every year and not have to worry about doing emissions and then yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hatch gave me problems, and I blew up, I was doing another build, and then I found the coupe as like, this is a cage roller with 5 lug and some suspension on it already, like all arms and everything, and some stock, whatever, some BS coils. And so I bought that, and then that car just kind of went together a lot easier. And I ended up driving that a whole lot more and kind of like using it as a test dummy for what the hatch was going to be.
Yeah. That's interesting. It's kind of cool that the hatch is actually the old car that you got. Because obviously I've known you for 3-4 years now, and I know you just because from the other car, the maroon one. So that's kind of different.
And originally, kind of everyone was like that.
Yeah, that's cool though. Yeah. So you got anything else that you think? What's something that you've learned over the years that you think would be helpful for people like you starting out in drifting? Because I'm sure a lot of people have told you very helpful things in your past.
Yeah, I mean, like we've kind of really already gone over most of it. I would say, keep it simple, get out there, get seat time, and if you want to do competitive drifting, start in the car that you want to continue in. Like, if you want to do Pro-Am and your goal is to go to the next level, make sure that car that you got in Pro-Am can go ahead and make that jump with you. Like, I kind of messed myself up with being in the coupe so much and then trying to build a whole new car for Pro 2 because then even though I had used similar stuff, it all didn't, like, switch over. And, yeah, like, just that'll save you a lot of time and headache. Even if you got to sit a year out or something, like get drive time in your car that you want to do before you kind of make a big jump to going into pro drifting because there's a big gap there in driver pool and talent, like everyone's out there is just as good as you are. Whereas in Pro-Am, you'll go out there and, you might be, one of the best guys out there. You know what I'm saying? You're never going to go out there and be the best guy because every day, anything can happen. Anyone can have a good day. Anyone can have a shit day. So you always have someone who's out there as good as you. But, in the pro stuff, you're going to, everyone's basically the exact same. And basically it's just, enjoy yourself. Don't let yourself get so involved in one thing or the other that you kind of lose sight of just what we all got into this for. And that's just driving, like don't go so far into your build that you're not going to be able to have seat time and try and just go out there and only learn in competition driving because, you're going to get burned out real fast that way.
Awesome.
Facts.
Yeah. Troy said the same thing about the cars, though. He said he wishes he would have kept his original S13 and instead of building a whole new car for FD. But, yeah. You got any last final words, Reese, for him or questions?
Nah, I mean, Miles pretty much, he speaks the truth all the time. So it's like, sure enough to say when, he's coming from a place of knowledge and a place of experience. So it's good to have people like him that are, I kind of look at it this way. Like there was a time for a lot of us old timers to be influencers and influence the community. And then you have people like Miles and Faction and Front Street and all those other style guys now that are definitely have like the torches and many of the guys out west that have that torch to kind of pass along this information. He's at a point right now where, the things that he said in this podcast are going to get taken serious by a lot of people that just simply like him. And what he's preaching is definitely the truth. And that's just going to fertilize the future for better things to come.
Awesome. Cool. Hey, Dustin. So, you want to give them like a good place to go find you at? Couple give shout outs. Any people that kind of helped you out?
Yeah. Check me out on my social, Miles Style Racing on Facebook, or my personal Facebook page, Dustin Miles, or on social media, or on Instagram, DMiles_GMP. And definitely shout out to Fitfo, shout out to Rays, believing in me off the beginning, and kind of people that have been with me from the beginning. Yeah, definitely shout out to all of them. Motul,
Awesome.
Daily Driver Media.
Hell yeah. I love your pink wheels. They're the best wheels in FD by far.
Yeah, I love them too.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks for watching, and we're going to have another great episode coming up soon, so stay tuned.